Welcome, everybody. It's so good to see so many people. I think this is the biggest group that we've ever presented to, so that's awesome. Thanks, you guys, for coming. I know you've kind of had a long day, so I'm not going to go on and bore you too much, but I am the only presenter today. I'm Dr. Marsden. Usually Nikki presents with me, but she's in Italy right now. Darn, I know. So I'm here by myself. So you guys get to listen to me for the next, 40 minutes or so, and I'll leave some room for questions at the end. All right, so today we're going to talk about facilitating emergence and what exactly that means. So the whole point of my conversation today is to talk to you as the parents about what you can do to help make sure that your kid, after they graduate, that they don't come back home and live with you for the next 5 years. Right? That's probably not exactly what you want. So we're going to talk about how you can facilitate their emergence into adulthood so they don't become so dependent on you after they graduate. So let's talk about the statistics, because I'm a statistics person and I like looking at the stats. Yes, my students are nodding. Yeah. All about the stats. So let's talk about the stats. So today, in 2016, Pew Research Center did a study and looked at how many students were living at home. And we can see that the millennials in 2016, 91% of 25 to 35-year-olds were living at home. That's almost all of them. That's a lot of them. How many of you are looking at this statistic and going, no, please, no. The good news is it's a little bit better for students that go on to get some type of secondary education. So those that are living at home with a bachelor's degree, the percentage is much, much lower. So that's good. You guys are doing the great thing by getting your kids here, right, and getting them a college education, because that's going to increase their chances of not living at home with you after they graduate. So that's good. We're off to a good start. About 50% of students expect to be supported. Yep, go ahead. They expect to be supported by their parents after they graduate. 50%. So I want you guys to take a second, look at your son and daughter, and ask them, do you expect to live at home after you graduate? Maybe it's good we talk about that right now, right? No? Okay, good. He's going to kick you out. So about 50% expect to be supported, and about 36% of parents expect to have to support their kids after they graduate from college. So that's about a third. So if I ask you guys, this group, right, if I said, how many of you expect to support your kid after they graduate? Theoretically, a third of you should raise your hand, right? Yeah, let's see that. Who expects to raise their hand? All right, about a third. Okay, good. I like those realistic parents. That's good. There's some good stuff behind these statistics. So even though a lot of students are expecting to live at home and parents are expecting them to live at home, getting a bachelor's degree helps. So if we look at different types of bachelor's degree and the percentage of students that are living at home, we can see a drastic decrease. 45% are living at home at age 22 if they're going into biology or life sciences, and then only 13% by the time they're 29. So it goes down quite a bit. That's good, right? So getting a biology and life sciences degree, that's positive. Fine arts, that's good, right? Even that degree will help them get a job after they graduate. Business, only about 10% of them are living at home. Systems, information systems, right? Computer information systems, obviously I'm psychology, right? That's not my major. Yeah, this is something with computers. So that also helps, right? Not enough. No. Sorry, Ari.
Ari's not going to live at home.
Good. Well, I hope not, since he's engaged and everything, yes. Right? Yeah, no, right? Good. All right, humanities and psychology, also a pretty big decrease. So the degrees that we offer here, by majoring in those degrees, that will automatically decrease their chances of living with you after they graduate. So that's good, right? That's positive. So like I said, you guys are already doing a good thing for your child by sending them to college so they can get a college education. Luckily, Beacon College exists, right? Yes. Luckily, we're all passionate about what we do. So the national averages for students with learning differences, if we look at this, we look at high school, right, which you guys have already gotten past, so that's good, right? If we look at high school, the national graduation rate for students without learning disabilities is 80%, but those with learning disabilities is only 63%. So it's quite low. And if we look across state by state, this is 2014, we can see those of us from Florida, right, the South in general, a little bit out west, not so good for our students with LDs. If we look at college education, the national average, just under 40%. For students with learning disabilities, it's only 6%. That's the national average of students graduating with college. Those with LDs, it's only 6%. So it's really not good. How many students with LDs get help? Well, almost all of them get help in high school, which is awesome. But when they leave the high school environment and they go to college, only about 17% ask for help. That's why that graduation rate is so low, because they don't know how to advocate for themselves, which is one thing that you guys do so well for them, right? You're their best advocates, which is great. But now it's time to teach them how to advocate for themselves, right? You can't be there on their first job. You can't be there with them for the rest of their lives. You have to teach them how to advocate for themselves now. So while they're in college, that's what we're teaching them. And while at home, hopefully that's what you guys are teaching them. So what are we doing here at Beacon? Well, our graduation rate is much higher than the national average. Ours is 70%. Almost 85% of our students are employed or pursuing some type of education after they graduate from Beacon College. That's pretty good. So when they leave here, they have an internship set up, they have a job lined up, or they're planning on getting their master's, or yes, their PhD. We have students that are in PhD programs right now, and one student that actually graduated with her PhD, what, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
I think maybe 2 years ago.
2 years ago? I think so. So all of our students gain some type of practical experience through internships while they're here. So that's what we're doing, right, to help your child be ready for after they graduate from Beacon College. So we're doing everything that we can here. We don't want you guys to stress about what we're doing here. We're doing everything that we can. So let's talk about what you can do at home, which is kind of the whole point of the talk, right? What can you guys do at home to help facilitate emergence so they're not staying with you for the rest of their lives? All right, the truth about emerging adulthood. I'll be honest with you guys, at this point in time, usually I hand it over to Dr. Nance. So now I'm doing her part of the presentation, so I'm sorry if I mess it up. But I'm not going to be as good as she is. You guys won't know that. So thank you, Avi. All right, the truth of the matter is emerging adults just aren't emerging. They're kind of stalling. And that's why we see so many young people still living at home. Emerging adults aren't really adults yet, right? You guys probably look at your 18 or 19-year-old and you still look at them as a child in some ways, right? That's okay. That's all right. Now is the time when you can start building their skills, so in a couple years you'll look at them more as adults. So what's really happening, and one of the reasons that we talk so much about stupid decisions that we make when we're young, is because our prefrontal cortex doesn't completely develop until we're 25 years old. And that's the part of our brain that's responsible for decision making, higher order processing, cognitive decisions, right? All problem solving, it's responsible for all of that. And it's not fully developed until they're 25 years old. So even while they're in college, that part of their brain is still developing. So they're still having a hard time making good, logical, rational decisions. So emerging adulthood, it's really more, we really should call it protracted adolescence, because that's what it really is. It's an extension of their adolescence until really age 25, when the brain fully develops. Sorry, guys. Some of the students are like, no, but yeah, it's true. All right, so the rest of the story is, well, high school dropouts. There's about 1.2 million per year high school dropouts. Good for you guys. Your son or daughter is not in this category because they're here at Beacon. There are lots of Boomerang Kids where we have more 18 to 34-year-olds that live with their parents than live with their partners. And a lot of grandparents are now raising grandchildren, which might be some of you, right? Might be some of you. Maybe you're raising your grandchildren right now. And that could be because there are Boomerang Kids, right, that come back home and live with their parents again. There are lots of teen moms, unfortunately, now, incarcerated parents, and there are addicted parents. So those are some of the reasons why maybe grandparents are raising their grandchildren now instead of parents raising the children. We see lots of grandparents raising their kids here. So it's unfortunate, but it happens. Well, there are also deployed parents, I'm sorry. So in other countries, this is actually seen as a good thing for children to live with their parents until they're 35 or 40 years old, and for the grandchildren to live at home too. It's a good thing. They're very collectivistic, and it's seen as a very family-oriented thing. Here in the United States, though, it's seen as failure. If you're 35 years old and still living at home, ooh, that is seen as the ultimate failure, right? Not just on the child's part, but on the parent's part too. So what we're trying to do is make sure that that doesn't happen. So why is adolescence persisting into young adulthood? Well, really, in every single kind of developmental stage in our life, we have to have some type of crisis in order to grow, right? When we're younger, we have that whole identity crisis of trying to figure out kind of who we are. As we get older, that crisis starts to kind of get a little bit bigger and more serious. So at each stage throughout our life, Erickson says we have to go through a crisis, otherwise we can't grow as a person. That makes sense, right? So in adolescence, our crisis is really, what are we supposed to do with our life? Who are we going to be as a person? How am I going to identify myself? And that's what your kids are struggling with right now, right? Trying to figure out their major, trying to figure out what they're going to do for the rest of their life. And it's good that they're exploring that. This is one thing that I tell parents is, don't insist that they go into one field or another because you think that their job prospects are going to be better. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. If they love what they do, they will find a way to make money at it. I had a student last year, loved horses. She absolutely adored horses. And I told her, well, what can you do with horses? She didn't want to be a trainer, and she really liked helping people. And I told her, well, why don't you major in human services or psychology, and then you can do horse therapy, right? She suggested that to her mom, and her mom told her, no, that was the stupidest thing. Nobody would ever pay for horse therapy. That was dumb. And I said, okay, all right. So she changed her major to business. Yeah. And about a month before she was supposed to graduate, she said, I hate this. I hate my internship. I hate my mom for making me do this. I want to go back and major in psychology. This was right before she was supposed to graduate. And I said, well, that's something between you and your mom. I'm not getting involved in that. But guess what? She talked her mom into it, and now she's majoring in psychology. And she's super excited. And she already has an internship doing horse therapy. And they've already told her once she gets her bachelor's, they're going to hire her. So it worked out really well. So I don't want you guys to get narrow-minded and to think that you can only go into business because that's where all the money is, or you can only go into computers because that's where all the money is. Don't discount fine arts degrees or psychology degrees because you think there's no future in it. There is. There is. I mean, I'm a psychology major, right? Yes. All right, so we have to have this identity crisis in order to grow. Unfortunately, a lot of parents are kind of putting off this identity crisis, and that's why we see adolescents kind of spilling over into early adulthood. So by having this identity crisis, it helps them explore what they might be interested in, and then make a commitment to something that they like. When they fail to explore, though, basically they're foreclosing, right? They're saying, I'm not interested in anything, I'm just done. I just want to sit on the couch all day and play video games. Yeah, that's not good. When they fail to commit, it's a moratorium. So these are the students that like everything and want to major in everything, and they're just like, I like this class, and I like this class, and I like this class. They do all sorts of exploring, but they don't commit to anything, right? Or maybe your student fails to do either. They don't commit to anything and they're not interested in anything. That's like worst case scenario, right? When they fail to do either, it's really a failure to launch. So they're not doing anything. We definitely don't want you guys to be in this category, right? Failure to do either. Maybe the failure to commit for right now is okay because they're in college and they're supposed to be exploring everything. But if they're a senior and they haven't committed to anything yet, maybe then it's time to push them a little bit harder. Right? So let's talk a little bit more about this failure to launch. Why does that happen? Why do young adults sometimes fail to commit and fail to explore? Well, it might be that they lack a vision for themselves. They don't really know what they want, and they've never really thought about it too much. It might be that they lack interpersonal skills and that networking ability to go out and make friends and to make those connections, to get good jobs. So they may just feel really uncomfortable doing it. They may not be good at social skills, in which case there's a lot that you can do at home to help them build those skills. We do a lot here too. There's just a general lack of life skills, and unfortunately this is something that we see students coming here and not being able to do their laundry, right? Not being able to use the microwave because they've never had to do it before. Really, parents are doing their kids a disservice when they don't have them do chores around the house. Because then when they come here, they have no idea how to do it on their own. They might not be able to make good decisions. Again, we talked about that pre-cortex, right? It's not fully developed yet, so they're not able to make good decisions. They're not able to problem solve too well, and they're not able to use techniques to help calm themselves whenever they get upset or anxious. And unfortunately, some of you might agree with me on this one, we're seeing that sense of entitlement, right? Where the world owes me something. I don't have to work hard for it. Avi's shaking her head no. That's not you, Avi. Where are your parents? That's not Avi. All right, so I'm starting to see some glazed eyes. So what I want to do is something that I occasionally do with some of my students, especially in statistics. So I want you guys to stand up. Okay? I want you guys to stand up and take a big deep breath in and raise your hands up and stretch. There you go. Stretch. All right, lower your hands. Good. Do it one more time. Big deep breath, stretch. All right, lower your hands. Good deal. All right. You guys can sit down. All right. How do you feel? A little bit better? Yeah? Less sleepy? Less sleepy? All right. Oh, Ari's still yawning. Oh, yes. Yeah, you guys just ate too. Man. All right, another little thing that we like to do sometimes, I want you guys to take your right hand, grab your left earlobe, and just rub it a little bit. Just rub it a little bit. Now switch. Take your left hand, grab your right earlobe, rub it a little bit. There you go. That's for our ADHD people. Helps them focus. So hopefully you guys are a little bit more relaxed and focused and ready to talk about the rest of our stuff. This is the really important stuff, so I want you guys to be focused here. This is how you can help. Now that we're done with the statistics and the terminology and what everything means, let's talk about what you can actually do. So first, and this is something that you've probably been doing your entire life with your kid, is using contingencies, right? Using contingencies. So tie increased freedom at home to increased expectations. So give them a little bit more freedom as long as they, are doing the right thing. So use those contingencies to help them build their independence, right? So by doing little things around the house, that earns them more freedom. Offer to help them, but don't do it for them. Give them the steps of the decision-making process, but don't make the decision for them. Guide them through it, but don't make the decision for them. So what should you not do? Right. Don't make the decision for them. Do not make the decision for them. Instead, show them how to do it. Show them how. Show them the process. right? In critical thinking, we learn how to think critically. And we learn the steps of how to think critically. Do the same thing. Teach them how to make a good decision. Maybe start out by saying, well, did you make a pros and cons list? No? Okay, start there. Make a pros and cons list and then bring it back to me and we'll talk about it. Okay, so have them do each step on their own. Don't do it for them. Don't do it for them. Use referrals. The buck can stop somewhere else. If they have a problem, don't fix it for them. Say, well, who can help you with that? If they say, Mom, I hate my roommate, she's an awful person, well, did you talk to her? No. Well, how does she know if she's an awful person if you haven't talked to her? Talk to her. If they're still having a problem, well, did you talk to the dean? No. Well, go talk to the dean, right? Find somebody else to help them. Make them find that other person. Because when they do get a job and they're on their own, you're not going to be able to tell them or to call their boss and say, hey, Bobby was having a really bad day. Can you just let this one thing slide? Right? No, absolutely not. So make referrals. Have them go to somebody else. You don't be their last resort. Don't help them all the time with all their problems. Make them go to somebody else. Model autonomy. What's autonomy? Acting on your own, exactly. Independence, yes, model that. Be a good role model for them. Show them that you can be independent. Show them that you can do things on your own, and then they'll want to do things on their own too. So have a vision for yourself and share that. This is really important. Right now is the time for you as parents to celebrate the fact that your kid's not there. Right? How amazing is that? They're here and they're being well taken care of. So now is the time for you to find a vision for yourself. What did you want to do after your kids left the house? Did you and your husband want to travel? Did you and your wife want to go RV across the United States? What did you want to do? Now is the time to do it, right? Or at least communicate to your son or daughter what you want to do. So tell them this vision. Balance your life. Balance your life. This is really important. And I'm going to give you guys a workbook. Hopefully I printed off enough copies. Where it's basically a pie chart. And it says how much time do you devote to yourself? How much time do you devote to your spouse? How much time do you devote to your children? And how much time do you devote to your career? Theoretically, it should be a nice, perfectly balanced pie, right? She's laughing. She's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. What slice has the smallest amount? For yourself. It's true. It's true. Yeah, it's true. So take a minute and reevaluate that balance, right? Take a minute and reevaluate it. Finally, live mindfully. Be aware of what you're doing in front of your son or daughter and how that might affect them. If you're constantly solving all their problems for them and taking on all of the obstacles that they're encountering, you are not doing them any favors. You are not doing them any favors, especially here, because there's so much support here. You shouldn't have to do anything, right? You shouldn't have to worry at all. You should say, oh, go to school. I'm going to go live my life now. Right? Yes. Your parents going, yes. That's good. And then finally, be well. Take care of yourself. Be healthy, right? Be happy. And then if you're taking care of yourself, you can properly take care of your son or daughter. I always tell students that when they come to me and they're telling me that they have a bad day, right? I was like, if you need to take a minute, take a minute. Take care of yourself first, because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. So take care of yourself first. And that goes back to being a good role model for your son or daughter, too. So, while they're here at Beacon, I want you guys to enjoy your freedom, right? Enjoy this time with each other or with your other children or by yourself. Enjoy that, too. Just enjoy your freedom. Don't try to solve all their problems, right? Life constantly is throwing us problems. Even as parents, how many obstacles do you guys come into encounter with at your jobs every day? Right? You don't have anybody fixing those problems. You're doing it yourself. Show that to your son or daughter. Show them that you're taking care of those problems. So recognize your son or daughter's independence. Recognize that they're getting older. Recognize that they're 18 or 21 now. They can start drinking on their own, right? Recognize that. Give them that freedom. Use it, with contingencies, though, right? Tie it to some contingencies. This is important. Don't check in too often or respond too quickly to their text messages. Now, if they text you and say, 911, I'm dying, and they send you pictures of blood, respond to that immediately, okay? Like right away, yes, respond to that.
What if they don't send life alert?
Enjoy that.
Why? You don't know
Enjoy
what's going
that.
on.
That's okay. He's doing great. He's doing great. Yes. As far as you know. It's good. Well, he's still here, right? So don't check in too often with them. I had one student this past semester, and it's only, a month or two into the semester. I had one student in critical thinking. They were doing their reflections, so it was quiet time, and they were thinking and writing. And this student's phone kept going off, and I was like, who is calling you? And she's like, it's my dad. And I was like, answer it and tell him I'm in class, and you're never allowed to call me again right now because this is my time with Dr. Marsden. And she's like, no. And I was like, do it. And she did. And he apologized, and he said, I'll never call during this time again. And he hasn't so far, so that's good. But don't call them during the day, right? They're trying to go to class and do their homework and all that stuff. Just let them do their thing. Now, if you get a call from the learning specialist or from one of us saying we haven't seen your son or daughter in a couple of days, then, maybe start to panic a little bit. But in general, don't check in with them too often. And lastly, this last one is really important, and this is one of my biggest tips for parents. Allow your child to fail. I know that's hard. I know that's really, really hard to watch them fail. But they have to learn to overcome that. We have to have failures in our life in order to become resilient. Resilience is the key to success. Of every other predictor that they've looked at in the research, resilience is the #1 predictor for success. And the only way that we can build resilience is by experiencing and overcoming failure. So if we learn how to deal with failure, we can be successful. I had one student 2 semesters ago who utterly failed my general psychology class. It was bad. It was really bad. And I tried at the beginning of the semester to help him as much as I could. And it became very apparent that he didn't give a crap about that class. So I continued to try as much as I could. And his learning specialist and I worked with him. And at one point in time, I said to his learning specialist, we need to stop and just let him fail. We just need to allow him to fail. And she goes, oh, that seems really mean. And I was like, he's going to learn more by this failure than he is by us trying to push him through this class. And she said, okay. So he failed. The next semester, he took that class with me again. And I said, well, I'm surprised that you're taking this class with me again, because there's 3 other people that teach it. And he's like, I failed with you, and I want to succeed with you. And I was like, okay, good. He got the highest grade that semester. And I pulled him aside, and I said, what happened? And he's like, that failure felt really awful, and I never want to feel that way again. And I was like, that's great. And now he's a peer tutor. He holds study sessions for the Gen Psych class, and he helps other students succeed. So that one failure is helping him become a more successful individual today. So I know it's hard, but please allow them to fail. All right, that's all I have. Do you guys have any questions?